who can bang down low with Pau and Andrew Bynum. They got Serge Ibaka. They got X factors like Cephalosha and what's his name? I can't think of that one right now. But they got 2 X factors. So that's why I'm saying selling hard on the Lakers not to repeat or three-peat.
All right, so we had discussions on Kobe. We move on to our next topic. Derrick Rose right now seems to be the front runner for the MVP as Chicago's the number 1 team. They could pull off the number 1 overall depending on how San Antonio finishes up. But are you buy or sell on Derrick Rose as the MVP of the league this year?
I'm buying 100%. The top 3 candidates right now are Howard, James, and Rose. And LeBron James has already admitted that he thinks that Rose is the most deserving player. The Magic coach, who's kind of a douche,
Stan Van
Gundy says that Howard's been playing just as good, if not better. But Derrick Rose has led the Chicago Bulls to a 60-20 record, first in the East. And he did it without Joakim Noah or Boozer the whole way. And that's the most impressive thing about it. And he led that team to the East title in regular season.
And the fact that, too, obviously the Bulls' best record in the East, like you said, 16-20, impressive record, even with, what James and Howard have been doing. But they are a serious contender to win it all. So with that and the way he's been playing, I definitely think he'll be MVP. He should. So.
Yeah, you guys took the words out of my mouth. I'm going to buy like a buy one, get one free deal at the liquor store. You can't pass this one up. Rose is your MVP. Like you said, he's led the best team in the league, or not the best team in the league, but the best record in the league at 60-20 with not the best team in the league, which I was trying to say. He doesn't have another superstar around him. He's got Joakim Noah, garbage man, literally garbage man. He cleans up the boards, does all the dirty work. That's all he's got. He's got nobody on the wings. Luol Deng's playing out of his mind this year. You don't expect that out of him. And Carlos Boozer's not a top 10 superstar in the league anymore like everybody thinks he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you're saying garbage, but Boozer's been to an All-Star game. He snuck on. So do you think of the Bulls this year as kind of like the Cavs of last year where you got the big superstar and then people that look good just because they got the star making them look good, or is this a legit number 1 team?
Well, that's why I keep telling one of my best buddies, Ben Kiefer, is a huge Bull fan. And I keep telling him that this could be the Cleveland Cavaliers of late. They have the superstar who's leading them, clearly the best player in the league right now. Clearly he's the MVP, and he doesn't have a supporting cast around him to step up, in crunch time and when it's a big time.
All right, so we'll move on to, sadly, it was a great NCAA tournament with a lot of upsets, but maybe the biggest upset was how the final ended. UConn against Butler. You had Butler returning. Was this the worst NCAA final ever?
Who wants to start this
I'll start this one. I feel like I'm talking all day here, but I'm going to sell on the worst NCAA final ever. Can't talk today, excuse me. UConn playing, I loved watching Kemba Walker. I said earlier on Sports Talk Live this year, he's my favorite player to watch in the country, and thank you for having my back, Kemba, living up, not making me look stupid, but anytime he's on the court, it's fun to watch. He's exciting. He's quick. He's dynamic. He gets in the lane. He finishes. He distributes the ball. He does everything. I love the guy. So
yeah.
I'm going to sell it as the worst final ever.
I think I'm going to sell it, too, as the worst final ever. I don't know if you can go that far. I mean, I definitely expected it to be a little bit of a better game than it was, a closer game. I expected Butler to come up more, especially the following year, or the previous year when they, made it a good one, a close one against Duke and almost won that one. I expected them to show up more, especially since they had more experience. But like you said, Kemba Walker is a great player. I really enjoyed watching UConn, and I don't want to call it the worst NCAA final ever. It was disappointing, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it was the worst.
Right, it wasn't good. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to buy into this. I think this was a terrible game for the most part. Butler shot 19%, and that's terrible for how well they did throughout the entire tournament. And everybody was so impressed and thinking, hey, Butler, they should actually be doing it this year. And to shoot 19%, and Matt Howard, one of their studs, shot 1 for 13 from the field. The first half was the lowest scoring first half since 1946, and that's just depressing. Nobody wants. I don't like to see a defensive game. There were some good plays by UConn. I think it's a really debatable topic, but I was not impressed, and I was hoping for something a little more exciting and a little more suspenseful.
To shoot 19% with a shot clock, which means you're shooting even more.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you on that one. That just the circumstances of time. But anyway, we'll have to move on because someone just won't go away, and that someone is Jen Sturger, as she was on Good Morning America this week saying she is not, quote, a gold digger. All right. What do you think of this whole Jen Sturger back in the news?
I'm going to have to sell this whole Sturger is legit thing. I don't know about her. I think ever since the scandalous started, I haven't really believed a lot of what she said. She said she's not a gold digger. Okay, she said she didn't know that Favre had her number. Really, I don't know if it's possible. It's Favre, but I don't know. I don't know about her. I have to sell her being legit. I don't believe what she says.
I don't either. I can't stand her. She says she wants to be out of the media, all this attention to go away. Then stop going on Good Morning America. God, I really can't talk today. Stop going to Good Morning America and doing interviews about it. And her quote was, where's it here? That she can't entertain people and that she's not a gold digger. Well, if you're not a gold digger, get off TV. There's no other reason that you're on there, obviously. And if you can't entertain people because this isn't going away, that just doesn't make sense to me. So she's not legit at all in my book, and I got to sell that.
Yeah, I'm going to sell as well. She says she wants her life back. If you want your life back, then get out of the media and don't talk to them and just have them leave you alone. In the interview, she said that she had said that in order to get this story over, that she needed to come out and say it to tell her side of the story, and I'm just not really buying into that either as well. So,
Well, to me, the story was over.
yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
to
it
tell
was
the
over a
side
long
of the story.
time.
When do you take it
Decided
for a
it.
break? Because this happened 2 years ago, and even then it came out during the season. To wait
Right.
till now,
Yeah.
come out. Do you think that hurts her, or why was there the long break in
I
between?
think she misses the media.
All of her,
Yeah. I think she wanted that attention.
She wanted that
I don't
attention,
know
yeah.
why you would wait 2 years or that long to come out with a story like that otherwise. So.
All right, well, speaking of breaks between stories, we're going to have to take one as we are going to go to another PSA, so we'll be back in a bit.
Glitz, glamour. These words are easily associated with one place, Hollywood. Hollywood has come to symbolize cinema in the United States, but why? Hollywood in the year 1900 was only one tiny village. How did it end up as the movie capital of the world? The answer is simple, the weather. Back in the early days of cinema, cameras were rudimentary at best. They only operated well in places with plenty of light because the early black and white cameras had a hard time distinguishing between subjects. Movies usually had to be shot outside. Even interior sets were often open air to let the sun provide free light. Filmmakers had to find a place that would be sunny regularly enough so they could work uninterrupted. In 1910, a director named D.W. Griffith headed to the California coast and found the then sleepy town of Hollywood. He set up shop and started cranking out productions. Only a year later, in 1911, the first studio was set up in the town, and by 1920, Southern California was the center of the U.S. film industry.
And we are back right away. We just have a short game here. Don't forget, NFL is coming up in the draft. And speaking of NFL, of course, we got to start with the Packers, who I guess not unfortunately have the 32nd pick this year. What do you think the Packers should do in the first round? Where should they address their needs?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the 32nd pick any year if that means we can win the Super Bowl every year. But I think they have like three main positions they definitely need to look at. Tackle, outside linebacker. It'd be great to have a stud opposite Clay Matthews. I can't imagine how great their defense would be then. But I think their biggest need is at defensive linemen. There's apparently a lot of really good young defensive linemen in this draft, so that's good for the Packers. Cullen Jenkins will probably be gone. Pickett, he's not getting any younger. Will he hold up? Obviously, Johnny Jolly isn't going to be around anymore. I think they definitely need to go for a defensive lineman for sure in this draft.
I'm with you 100% defensive lineman, but I'm going to go D-tackle specific. And you need a guy that's going to be in the 3-4 scheme, nose tackle, taking on those centers and guards, getting double teams routinely. I like a guy like Steven Paella. He went out there and repped up 49 reps with 225 at the combine. So you already know he's strong. He's up there on a lot of guys' ranking boards for at the top 5 D-tackles. So he's a guy I like looking at in the 3-4 scheme, to clog up blockers and clog up some holes.
Every single time that I get into a topic about the Packers' future and what they need to do to win, I just have one thing to say, and that is Skol Vikings.
All right, minus points. But, all right, a little biased, but we move on to the number 1 pick, which Vikings might have had without some things here. A little cut there. But who do you think the Panthers take number 1? Are they going to take a pick, trade out? What are they doing?
My guess is that they're going to take Cam Newton. I think that would be their probably best choice. The thing, Jimmy Clausen is just not a franchise quarterback. If you want to have 12 average seasons, like have a Kyle Orton, that's what Jimmy Clausen is. You're not gonna. You might make the playoffs a couple of times. But you're never going to win a Super Bowl with him. And if they don't pick Cam Newton, because they have Jimmy Clausen, and then he ends up becoming this Pro Bowl amazing athlete, amazing quarterback, the Carolina's going to explode. Like nobody's going to know. It's just a terrible decision. So
Right, that's why people don't want to have the number 1 pick for
Yeah.
reasons like that. I agree Clausen's not the answer, but I don't think Cam Newton is either. There's not a franchise quarterback in this draft. So I like a guy like Patrick Peterson, who's rose a lot on a lot of people's boards recently. For 2 reasons. He can special teams, return punts and kicks, and also the 2 starting corners for Carolina last year. Chris Gamble got in an altercation with John Fox. I know he's not there anymore, but he didn't play since the 10th week of the season. And Richard Marshall, his contract was just up, so I know everybody's contract's kind of up in the air right now, but his contract went up, and the Panthers said they're not going to give him an extension. So the next guy they have in to play corners are nickelback, Captain Munnerley. So I think you choose a corner there, and he can also help you in special teams.
Yeah, Carolina has a lot of needs. Obviously, they were the worst team in the league.
Right.
But I'll agree with Braden. I mean, when was the last time they had a decent quarterback other than when they had Jake Delhomme for a while? And I wasn't even the biggest Jake Delhomme fan either. But I definitely think they should take a chance by taking Cam Newton. It's always difficult, I think, with taking a quarterback with the first overall pick. You know, how many busts have we had? But I mean, I don't see why they couldn't take a chance on Cam Newton. I would guess that they would. So, Cam Newton.
But if you take the risk, do you risk setting yourself, like, what if you have an Alex Smith? Like, 49ers have been bad for, like, 10 years, so they're also running that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you're stuck, like you said, their best has been Jake Delhomme. You don't have to set the bar too high to be a Carolina quarterback.
It's true.
All right. Had a ruling by a judge for the NFL lockout, forcing them to negotiate in this Thursday. Do you think we're missing time at all this season because of the lockout?
I don't know if we're missing time, but it's definitely going to affect this season. It already has been affecting this season. You know, players and coaches can't contact each other. When the draft starts, you know, if there's no CBA by then they can't, you know, get the players into mini camps and get them into the system. So I definitely think it'll affect this season, but I don't think we're going to miss any time.
Right. I think it affected, like you said, the players mostly, obviously the players and the coach not being able to communicate the way they'd like. It's just, I don't know, it's getting old. I wish they'd just come to an agreement here soon. We definitely need football next year, but I don't know, it'll definitely affect the players, especially like towards the draft and you know, your drafting needs and things like that in free agency, but I don't think it'll affect, you know, time, like you said.
Right.
Yeah, there's been some predictions that they might take out a couple of games early in the season, or maybe a couple preseason games. I don't think that would really be too big of a loss if that happened. Just as long as they still get the season to go. If they don't get this season, that's what's going to spiral this nation into a depression, in my mind. There's still disagreements going, but the players right now are seeming to get, you know, the smaller victories over the owners, and the judges they're trying to figure things out, and hopefully they can get it figured out by late May or early June is kind of some predictions.
Right.
Like, one of the big things holding it back is the 18-game schedule. Are you for or against 18?
I'm against 100%. They were talking all last year about reducing concussions and injuries. Why add 2 more games? It just doesn't make sense.
I'm
to me.
against it too. 18-game season. It's already as long as it is, and the players, it seems most of them are against it as well. Like you said, injuries. I mean, there's so many problems with concussions and things like that. I don't see the point in adding 2 extra games. It just doesn't seem.
I feel like the players know what they can control, what they can handle and take, you know, more than the owners know what the players can take. And when they're saying that, hey, you know, I can't do 18 games this season, that's just not going to be okay. I think that's what needs to be done. I think the players have the biggest say in that.
Right. Yeah.
Especially guys like
Alright.
running backs. Sorry for cutting you off there, Adam, but especially guys like running backs. An average running back lasts 5 or 6 years in the NFL. Why add 2 more games?
Yeah.
You know, over a
We
3 or
beat up
4 year
too much.
span, there's a year gone completely from your career. So.
All right, well, we've had a scoring system. I know I've forgotten to introduce it, but all right, my final tally on my nice high-tech score sheet had Drew with 42, Ashley 40, and Braden with 43. Well, Braden pulls
Braden
off
with the win.
the win here because someone kept stuttering and cutting me off. Minus points, pretty harsh there, Drew, but all right, give FaceTime Braden.
All right, so what I'm going to talk about right now is the Twins and some more baseball here going on. I think that the Twins are right now, they're low. They're not where they want to be. And I think that with the season going on, they can pick up some more momentum, and then they can take it from there and hopefully become the Central Division champions. Also with Boston, a lot of people are counting out Boston already and saying that that they're not the team that everybody thought they are at the beginning of the season. But they have a lot of talent in the bullpen. They have so much talent in the hitting, and so I think that they're still probably an AL pennant.
All right.
Champion pick.
Well said, even though it was Twins in Minnesota, but we'll have to wrap it up. This does it for Sports Scene. Hopefully you tune into our next show, Sports Talk Live, a little bit at 4:30, so we'll see you next time.